All right. Hello, everybody. Finally fixed my stream, or at least how it looked like. Got a Zoom working in the background, so it's not the little picture over here, and then the rest is like some background. So that's a positive thing. But when I start the stream, I have two questions. How is the audio, and what do I talk about? So for me, it's always like, I don't know, I'm just gonna start streaming, open up like Streamlabs, start yapping it up about whatever, maybe catch some questions, and just. It's always like I wonder, how do I give the most value to you people? Like, how do I make your life better one way or the other? Because I feel like, like there's always more to do. There's always more to give and all. And I don't know, like right now I'm just like brainstorming in my head of what would be good. And at the same time, like maybe just working on myself and showing you some examples so that you can maybe pick up, follow that, and do it for yourself. Like the whole parse party thing. I could just pick up that not knowing what to talk about. Or you're like, oh, I don't look too good on camera, so having this kind of like weird thing. But I look at like a lot of comments on YouTube I get as regards like, let's say, soul fragments, how to work over them, how to like remove the negative parts of us that are affecting our lives, and it's like, it's always a lot of inner work. It's never ending. Like no matter how long you live, you're gonna have to work on yourself unless you don't want to, and then your life's gonna be pretty much like, kind of like iffy. So for me, it's like I've been doing a lot of self-love, into like, hey, okay, I'm gonna change my diet. I'm eating once a day now and fasting most of the time. Working out, this therapy pretty much like she's changing my life and like the whole way I feel, how I walk, how I act, and everything else. So yeah, lots of things. Waves, good to see you. Why are we still here? I don't know. If you wouldn't want to be here, you'd kill yourself. But, like, okay, well, I don't want to kill myself because it feels like shit. I don't want to pick up the gun and it kind of like, I don't know, don't want to leave the mess, and then the fucking wife is gonna tell me about shit, and then the kids, and who's gonna find my body, how it's gonna look like, I don't know. So it's all of a sudden, if you wouldn't want to be here, you'd be out. But you're still stuck, so you have reasons for staying here where you have fears, where you don't want to take your life away. It's like, I don't know, like it might hurt, or it kind of feels weird and all the stuff. And then personal reasons. I don't know what happens after death. And did I really get all the information I needed to be safe out there, to travel and go away and never come back here? Do I still have everything covered, or do I feel like, as good as it sounds, I still have my doubts and I still feel like I need more? And all of a sudden you have more compelling reasons into not really going out yet, because like there's a little bit more you need to do for yourself, I guess. And then eventually you find tons of reasons why you want to stay here. Like, okay, well, my life sucks. I'm really unlucky. I can't get my car spot, can't get the slice of pizza, can't get a lot of other things. And, like, you're still dealing with your case. You're still going through those little issues that are obnoxious, and you've been through it no matter how hard you work. You're still, like, not really changing. Well, it's still a thing, huh? Or is it? It's always that question, like, why are we here? Like, I guess, like, for everyone, it's a different answer. So, for me, like, I'm still, like, hey, I have people I care about, so that's, like, one thing to stay for. Another thing, I just see myself as more of an amplifier, so whatever I can do to help others. I'm not perfect, far from it. I totally don't know everything, like, I'm just still learning a lot of things, but hey, I'm just gonna share my journey, document bits of it, and see if whatever I give will help someone. Maybe now, maybe today, maybe in a year or two. I've literally had a few clients that got some of my sessions and say like, Akvita, is total bullshit. What the fuck are you talking about? You're nuts. And then 3 years later, they write me like, I finally started to get what you're saying. Damn, you were right, girl. I'm so sorry. I'm like, oh, well, glad it finally sort of caught up to you. And I don't feel like I'm bad or crazy anymore. Like, okay, like, sorry, but like, finally, like, oh, they picked up on that. Cool. So, various reasons. But for me, like, just making those little changes, it's like, just for me, like, helping out people one way or the other when they're going through shit. And if I can just a little bit change their life one way or the other, or at least say, hey, you're not crazy. And when we are there, I confirm their story. I confirm that, like, hey, this is exactly how you've been feeling your whole life, and you're right about it. And here's what we can do to make it better. Like, that makes me feel good. That makes me sort of like, okay, like, another day, gonna do something for others again. So, but yeah, guys, like, everyone that's watching my stream right now, what's your reason for still being here? If you hate Soul Life so much, why are you not out yet? Lots of questions there. Tony's saying, I don't want to end it because I don't want to go through this again. And what do you mean, Tony? Like, not wanting to go through this again being possible reincarnation, or, you know, like, you kind of know, like, what's gonna happen after death for you? Or where are you going with this? Christmas is asking, Aquila, I wanted to ask why do most beings don't have creative powers like others? So, from my perspective, it's like, it's always for me comparable with video games. When you're playing certain game, let's say World of Warcraft, or maybe Elden Ring, or Horizons, or Mass Effect, or some game you like, CSGO, Dota, League of Legends, I don't know, like whatever kind of like makes you happy. With all those games, whatever game you play is gonna have certain rules. It's gonna have, you know, like beings you're gonna play as the characters. And it's like, okay, well, once you tune in to that game, there are certain rules. Beings on the physical universe have also a set of rules. Like, let's say if you're playing in a reptilian body, it's like being certain type of character, or an NPC, for example, that will have this personality. And all NPCs, let's say it's a warrior in the game, so they can't use magic. No, they have a two-handed weapon, they have two-handed weapons, they have daggers and swords and katanas and like all these things. They might have a shield and sword, they will have variety, but warriors can't do magic. They might have to be paladins or something. Now magicians, they're not really gonna pick up a sword and start like going like shield and sword and use magic. No, they're magicians, they're gonna use a staff. So the character you pick, let's say we're playing humans, but physical body here on Earth is limited. There are other kinds of humans, the way more advanced and really evil. And, you know, as a consciousness, we are not putting ourselves in a certain identity of what that character can do. Consciousness is limitless. Consciousness can be everything all at once. But once we choose to play physical reality will have certain places with the sets of rules and programming, and characters that can only have a certain type of behavior. So when you pick that role, playing reptilian or mantis or an entity is gonna have only certain sets of abilities, characteristics, beings, and, you know, like, okay, this is how your life is gonna be like. You're playing as reptilian now. So you're gonna have way more intelligence as your like default statistics of the character. You're gonna be super smart. You can mind control beings. You're gonna have more aggression, zero empathy really. You're more into this like, yeah, you don't really give a shit. You can just go and get whatever you want. Go all the way. Now humans, you know, on Earth, they're not really gonna have all of their abilities unlocked. They're gonna have a really hardcore suppressed life because there's a lot of beings who have more control and domination over things, but a human being will have empathy, for example. Like the solid human being, not the modified, because we have a lot of variations. And okay, so you have like this kind of body. It can get stronger over time if you work on it. And if you don't, well, it's gonna look a bit different, a bit chunkier, for example, or maybe super slim and just like, yeah, not really powerful enough. But all of a sudden, all these things will like fit to your personality or the character you take. As consciousness, we're limitless. We're not identifying ourselves with something. We are everything and nothing all at once. But once we choose to play a certain type of game, and we come here to the physical universe, the 3D, then we have to agree to certain rules that are here in order to play the game. It's same thing as installing the application on your like phone or installing some sort of game. There's always the terms of service, the agreements of terms of service and all this stuff. Like, okay, well, in order to sign up somewhere, you need to agree with that stuff. In order to play the game and install it, you need to agree with certain things. And most of us are just gonna scroll through all this stuff, not really give a damn. It's like, yeah, I just want to get my stuff. Come on, hurry up. And we don't read that stuff. Coming here on Earth, or having the human body or any other kind of body is pretty much the same. You can have consciousness, but once you pick up that character, you're like installing the program and like, okay, I'm gonna be that. So you agree with that sort of stuff, and your consciousness got a bit more limited. As a human, you cut off your memories, for example. You had the mind wipe. So all of a sudden you can't remember your past lives, who you were, your origins, or anything else. Like, if you're lucky, if you finally like work your muscles and access that stuff, you can. But other than that, it's pretty much like a lot of work to get better. But that's my take on it, like why some beings don't have creative powers. It's just not in their sort of abilities or character set. It's a whole different being. For them, it's a whole different game. It's like playing chess, black or white. And are you going to be the queen, the king, the pawn, or the tower, or whatever? Like all these things. Like, when you play a certain, like a chess figure, you can't have all the moves like queen or like king. You can only play the pawn, so you can go straight. You can't go like sideways and everything else. So, same thing here, pretty much. Sarah saying, I'm just here for my family and cats. Good for you. Good for you. And friends. Friends are good too. Constantina saying, can you predict the future? For me, it's like very 50-50 thing. Yeah, like I can access the future, but the one that I tune into out of all the possibilities. Like, am I gonna drink water now? Or is it gonna be like, I don't know, cola, Pepsi, coffee, cocoa, tea, or whatever else in my cup? Which part am I gonna choose today at this moment in time? And every single choice will lead to something else. Am I gonna do the live stream? Am I gonna make a video? Am I gonna go play some video games? Am I gonna do the session? All these things. So like, reality is going like tons of ways, like a massive tree. It spreads out. So all these things need to happen in order to tune into this reality or this reality or this reality, and it's like a fucking maze. So it's like, can you predict the future? Yeah, I can tune into one of these if I follow certain actions. But is it gonna be the same way for you? Like, how many actions do I need to follow so that I would pick up your stuff? So it's like 50-50, like, you can sort of like, okay, I picked up that stuff, but in order together, you need to do all of these things and make sure the rest of the world does the same. If you don't, well, it's pretty much like a lot of things gonna be different. So yeah, just checking some things out now. Yeah, one of many possibilities, pretty much. Slave is saying, while I'm aware of spirit or soul trap, I feel dark forces here would rather I depart this realm than remain here. That they greatly fear me. Personally, I'd love to turn Earth into a pleasure paradise. So, it's a great way to look at it. A lot of people here are more like prisoners rather than like having a great role. From my perspective, it's more like, it doesn't go for everyone. Some people, a lot of people, not many people, whatever. Some people here are more like, they have a lot of powers when they leave. If they choose to play in the 3D, and like let's say, like for you, Slave, you're like, hey, I would like to turn Earth into a pleasure paradise, that is totally possible. That is totally possible and you can do it. But that means you're interested in Earth and making it better, and also that makes you a player in this game. And now you're looking at all the parties involved who would like to have control over it, who's in control right now, and all the groups of like related to it. So that makes you sort of like, okay, well, who's playing the game and like what kind of influence do they have? What do they want? If you want a big influence while other people are playing, then it becomes a competition. And a lot of people are then like, well, this is what I want. And I want it a lot. And I really want it, which means you're not going to get what you want. So you become the enemy for some groups and they start targeting you. Now for us to not get targeted that much, or sort of like so that we wouldn't get in the way with our powers of consciousness, it is much easier to be put in the prison planet Earth and, all of a sudden, mind wipe. We can't remember our true abilities, why we were here, if we were coming here to play the game or not. And the next part is like, hey, well, now that you're a prisoner and you don't know that, let's affect your life 24/7, one way or the other. Where you have entities, where you're gonna have people in your life, let's say the closest ones to you that don't really care about you. Your parents might be alcoholics, they might be into drugs, they might have sexually abused you, they might have you just like, hey, I don't really care, just like whatever, kid. Or you might have decent parents, but then the surroundings and how you grow up and all the things that happen in your life. Do you have alien abductions? Like, no, I don't have such a thing. And if you like can get away from all that crap and just be involved in human life, that's okay for you. But a lot of people go through tons of crap. Targeted individuals and all these little things of, like being messed with in dreams and like every single way of life. Like they just like stuck, limited, they can't get what they want. No matter how hard they work on themselves, they don't really get better. Tons of things happen, but it's such an easy way to limit you while you're here rather than you get out and then you really can play the game. Like we can totally like still have control, work on our consciousness manifestation and other things and fighting back, but over there, once you leave Earth, you have more control over things. But hey, that's just my take on it. Calvin saying it's impossible to live and be left alone here. Impossible. That's also your story and what you're manifesting. Like, I know what you mean. I know just like, I'm working on myself, and every day, like all these little things, like I get better. I get better at confronting things, not getting triggered, or let's say less entities, less being messed with. And I like literally have weeks of chill, nice time. Let's say 2 to 3 weeks max, where I can live like, hey, life is awesome. And then after 3 weeks or 2 weeks, there's gonna be one day that's gonna be like an explosion full of triggers and whatever. Like they have to literally do tons of things to trigger me and get me to that sort of triggered place where I'm more targeted, where I'm not left alone. And I'm like, yeah, that sucks. Gotta deal with that. So again, confronting myself, like what is it that gets me triggered? What gets me to react to all those things? And then again. Kelvin, yeah, I get you. Like, please, we're not doing this to ourselves. That is silly. It really depends on how much confront and responsibility you want to take. It's easy to play the victim. I'm being fucked with. Everyone else, like the Greys, reptilians, it's their fault. They're attacking me. They planted me here. It's all their fucking fault. It's not me. I'm fucking innocent, and I'm never coming back here. Fine. Great. But you have to explore consciousness. You have to explore more than that. Okay, what did you do before coming here? Did you make any decisions? Why did you come here? And you zoom back in your whole existence, your origins, before 3D, before 4D, 5D or whatever, for billions of years and billions of lifetimes, and you see that you're creating everything. The planets, the destruction, like boom, you create, you destroy, create, destroy. The whole race, it's all you. And as consciousness, you're playing the game and one thing is not enough, so you split yourself into aspects and start having more beings to play around. Eventually, from my perspective, I am you, you're me, everyone here watching my stream, it's all me. All these bad things happen in my life, my creation, my responsibility. But how far do I want to go with that? Consciousness and how deep the shit goes is fucking deep and really hard to put in words and hard to understand. Like, it's a mindfuck. I do some sessions for people or on myself and it's going deep, or I do the past life recall where they go deep within themselves and they find out the stuff they did. It's like, holy cow. And all of these things I see, for me it's like one dot or one piece of puzzle in this massive picture. I don't have everything connected. I don't have the full story. I can't explain everything yet. I'm like, well, here's how I see this part, and this part, and this part, but there's billions of pieces that needs to go together for the full picture. But for now, I talk about this and this and this, and that's how I assume things are together, but I don't have the whole thing yet. I'm still exploring. To go with, no. It's not me, it's their fault, I'm the victim, I don't have control over all of this. If that works for you, great. I saw different things of what I've done, And recalling of splitting consciousness and me being tons of aspects is like if you have heard of the Anunnakis, Anu, Marduk, and Lil or Enki and stuff, where they have, let's say, one body, but then they can have one consciousness in 1,000 bodies. It's possible. You can have that. You can be all of these players all at once. And it's like, it's freaking crazy. It is freaking crazy with how you can see that. It's like literally, you might have seen some movies or, I don't know, something on the internet where you're in this, I don't know, CCTV room and you're watching all these cameras over the world. And you can access, okay, let's watch America. And you tune into LA and all of the places in LA and like, let's say, every camera you have in LA is your part of consciousness. You're viewing all of these aspects. But that's just LA. Let's do San Francisco. Let's do the whole, let's say, California and then every single state in America and then the whole world. We have trillions of cameras, trillions of perspectives, and it's all one being creating it all. And that is like freaking amazing and crazy, and it's like really hard to confront. Like some people, I know, like Unplug the Matrix and others have had the experience of, let's say, they get out of body and then they can split their consciousness and view from like tons of points of views. And it's amazing. But we can all do this. And it really goes into how deep do you want to go? For me, it's like, hey, I've seen the shit I can do. I've seen the parts that I have been or that I am. You know, like, hey, Akvila has a human body. Akvila is also reptilian and some other parts. Like, oh, that's interesting. So, it's all exploration. Like, I'm still exploring. I'm still finding how it all works. Layer is saying, all of these ancient scriptures refer to the earth being a stationary, motionless plane, and a lot of real science is just the same. What are your thoughts? So, I just tell you what I experienced in my outer body, like, thing. This is Earth, over here. Let's say it's a realm. I see it as a realm. So, think of a possible gate, or a thing, you get in, and you have this never-ending picture. So let's say whatever we have on Earth, all the continents, the cities, and everything else, it's there. I get out of body, I'm still here, and all of a sudden I'm gonna tune into a whole different place, a whole different realm. And that realm, where it's like, let's say, like Venus or, I don't know, Jupiter, or it's gonna be my own creation, it's gonna be Earth here, I'm here, and I'm gonna, boom, appear here. So nothing changes. I'm not really flying around or going somewhere. It's like Earth, Moon, Sun, whatever, it's all here. And you just appear there. And of course, like, you can sort of zoom out and, like, that realm could be the whole galaxy. And then you can sort of fly around and explore things, but, yeah, the motionless place where it doesn't move and, like, you know, you don't really travel, it can be a thing like that. Like, I've seen it, that's how I've experienced a lot of things. This is why it's not really flying, it's more like have an intention, change your frequency, and you pop in there. So, it's like my experience with it, but yeah. Okay, Christmas is asking, hey Aquila, do you have any tips for Ubies? I want to create my own pocket realm and my own army and space, and I remember you have said I have creative powers to create anything. Yeah, any consciousness, you know, like, you can create everything, totally, or destroy anything and all, like, it just goes in, like, what do you want to do? So, how I would create my pocket realm is, like, how would you like your realm to be like? It just starts with a thought. You think of it like, okay, well, if I had my own place, same as here on Earth, if you would have your own house, how would it look like? Where would it be? If you were here on Earth, you're like, well, I don't really like the system, and I would rather just move away. Go somewhere where I would have my own forest, where I would be away from people. I would have my own ranch maybe, animals, and then you sort of like have the surroundings where you would like the location to be, and then, oh well, there's gonna be this cabin in the woods. Big one, with a barn too. And you go in details, well, it's this kind of wood, like the redwood maybe, or the oak, and it's gonna have the fireplace inside, and you just fill out the details. So same way you picture a possible house you would have here on Earth, or where would you like to go? Well, I've heard that, like, let's say, waterfalls are nice. I would like to visit one of the waterfalls. And you Google it, and you're like, oh, well, this one looks nice. And then you're like, okay, well, now I know what the waterfall looks like, and where would I like to go? So creating Pocket Realm is pretty much the same. What would you like your realm to look like? What kind of nature would it have? Would it have any nature at all? Like some people are like, well, naturally I love rocks, and specifically my city would be on a floating rock. And it's gonna be like, instead of blue sky, it's gonna be purplish. And there's gonna be some orbs flying around, and like this like fantasy more look like. We have movies like Avatar. Boom, completely different surrounding. It's not fully Earth. Like okay, like China, thanks for helping out with the locations and all, but same way, you think of what would you like the perfect place to be like, and you just start describing it for yourself. You know, surroundings, little physical details, the physics of the realm. How deep do you want to go in it all? What kind of people would live there? How would it look like? What would their personalities be like? And you just start thinking, and literally you can write yourself a story. You can write it on a journal. You can just fantasize and like, well, you know, just go into creation. Just go into some like ArtStation, Google Images, DeviantArt, like a lot of these places, and just type in a word like alien. And then you scroll and like, let's see what this looks like. And then you have ideas for like, I like that look, and what would happen if I would combine it? And you sort of just imagine blending those pictures together, like, yeah, that's what I like. And yeah, maybe you like human body. What would you do better with human body? Well, it wouldn't really get old. I would get max to 30 years that would last, like, okay, like 30-year looks, max, maybe I'm in my 20s, and then that body could live for thousands of years. Now, the body will not have physical pains. So all of a sudden, you remove the pain from your realm. And you just go into, what would you like? What would you prefer in that realm? And all those little details, surroundings, the world, the realm, everything that like you want in there. And would you want any beings in there? Now, since you have all that, what kind of rules would you set in there? Let's say here on Earth, people can't fly. People can't remember their past lives. People are limited. Well, we also have system, and we also have a lot of groups involved in there. So you don't necessarily want that in your realm. Well, in your realm, you might want to fly around. You might want to be ageless. You might want to be able to change your body and looks at any point in time. So all of these rules that you create, and you're like, well, I don't want to be in duality. So how about my realm is just not in duality? I'm not involved with any Archons, or reptilians, or Dracos, or humans. I'm not involved with 3D at all. I don't like that stuff. And you're like, good, you know what you want. You define what you want. That's not gonna be in your place. And all of a sudden, you create all of that. Maybe you want to get, I don't know, like, well, you have your own sexual interest. Would you like to have your own harem? How many girls would you like to have, or guys? How would it look like? What kind of relationships would you have? And you just, like, think of your wanted life. You just fantasize about it. But you create it. Every single detail you think of will be there. And literally, as you think, you can set intention. Okay, I am creating my pocket realm. And you start just daydreaming. You start imagining what would you like there. And literally, all of that is being put in the realm. And at any point in time, you can like, nah, I don't like that. And you just delete it. You destroy that part. I'm gonna change it with this. And all of a sudden, like, you might add skyscrapers in your stuff. Or maybe you're gonna have underground planets and stuff like that. Like, you go underground in your realm, and it's just like endless, and it has more stuff. Like, okay, just like your world. And go on. Imagine. Be creative. Think of what you'd like. If you're like, I don't know what to create, I literally have no idea, Google. Open up DeviantArt, ArtStation, some sort of stuff, and just type in the world. City. A forest. I don't know, a car. People. Aliens? And you just go into like, okay, well, this is what I would like to look at. And you scroll and you get some ideas. You can compare things with what you like, what you don't like. Natures in different cities are like, okay, like if you can't really fantasize of anything Beyond Earth, look what's on Earth and just get some details from there. What kind of entertainment would you like? Would you like bowling in there, or billiards, or swimming, or like basketball? If that's a part of your thing, put it there. And just remember, like, hey, your realm is endless. It is infinite. At any point in time, you can keep on expanding, creating it bigger, better, or if you don't like something, you are the creator. At any point in time, you can uncreate it. You can remove that from the place. And you're kind of thinking now, like, boom, you want beings there to be conscious and awake and maybe have as much information as you do. Maybe you're like, I don't want to be the king or the queen or the god. I don't want to be bigger and better than everybody else. I want to have people like me and better maybe so that I could learn from them. And they wouldn't be fucked up. They wouldn't be following the system or the new age bullshit and all this stuff. And you're like, well, here's what I would like. What kind of thinking? How would they act like? What kind of personalities would they have? What kind of relationships would they have? And every single detail you can think of, that's what you're creating. And that's your own pocket drum. Any day you think of like, well, this is what I would like that place to be like, you can switch and change. And here's the thing to remember. All of that creation, this can be your afterlife place. This can be a place that you're going to go to and visit once your life on here on Earth is done. And you can set it as your sort of default teleportation place. So once your physical body drops dead, you close your eyes, you open them, and boom, you're on the planet. So there we go. That'd be the way I would do it. My throat relaxes. I think like I just yap it up a lot. Justin is saying, do you have anything to say about either alien love bites or soul shard implants? Melding of energies and feeling another's pleasure in my body, finding their soul essentials in my energy? Yeah, there's a lot. So, as regards alien love bite, I actually, like, just in the last 2 weeks have quite a few clients where they had a situation. They had, like, let's say, this girl is pretty much like psychic. And, as in, she has visuals, she can see entities, she can pick up on things, like if the guy is thinking certain things, she can feel it, so she's gonna like perceive whatever's going on with the guy. And they literally, like, just walk around the street and their eyes meet. It's not the love from the first sight. It's like, alright, what the hell? And it feels like you're supposed to be together forever. So, they get together, they live like for a few months, seems like life is perfect. They fulfill each other's needs, they really care about each other, both, they have amazing chats and everything else. And then out of the blue, the guy turns. As in, from the loving guy, who would care about the girl, give everything to her, do things for her, all of a sudden, a whole different person. It's like becoming a psychopath, like narcissist, or like all of these labels we could put in a person. But it's no longer being in control. It becomes aggressive, starts hitting her, and, like, beats her up to a pulp, like, hardcore. And just goes nuts with, like, acting out differently. Everything she gave him is, like, now, like, he's throwing it at her, or, like, trying to steal more money and just, like, really fuck her up. And it just goes, like, beyond crazy what these people go through. But that's pretty much, like, a lot of beings are interested in your suffering. Like, I'm sorry, but you're a product. You're being seen as chicken or a cow. It's not like they care about you. They don't. Chickens provide meat and eggs. Cows provide milk. They like milk. They don't really have anything against the cows. And so humans provide Loosh for energy. We can literally power up. Our Loosh can power up the whole sun. Our Loosh can power up their technologies. It can extend their lives and other things. And by them, like, there's a lot of beings out there. The greatest reptilians and other kinds of EDs, the Abraxas and everything else, like, ooh, just goes nuts. And with all that, it's like, hey, if there's any way they can take control of your life and mess with you, they will do it. If they find keys that trigger you, let's say, well, you're a really kind person, and you're really, I would say emotional, but you really get attached to people. You really care about someone. You really love them, and you give all of yourself. And that personality is easily hurt by being cheated on, by being abandoned, by being misunderstood, and, like, there's always a thing. So they're gonna attack you. They're gonna, like, okay, well, here's what you have. You really care about people, so we're gonna give this person in your life that's gonna like give you all the satisfaction. It's gonna satisfy your needs, make sure you're focused on what you like. There's gonna be happy, happy, happy moments in your life, satisfaction, pleasures, and new adventures and whatever. And it doesn't matter how long it lasts. It can be for weeks, for months, for years, if you're lucky. And then there's a rule. Let's take it all away. Like, really hurt you. If they kill the person, that's one thing. And that's kind of like easy way to go. But usually the other person that has the alien love bite, like, they make you fall in love. They have the whole script for what's gonna happen in your relationship, and it can be like perfect connection between both parties, and then one party will change. You might be more psychic. You're gonna pick up on stuff, and they're gonna break all the rules and values you have. They're gonna really target you with that other person that's being controlled. They no longer are, let's say, conscious of their action. It's like someone else implants the program and will change them, will change their behavior. Or actually, a lot of times that program was there all the time. It's the good stuff that was more of an implanted thing. And they're gonna, like, use those relationships to really mess you up. Make you look at good stuff and, like, hey, like, I feel like it's really the thing. And that person will hurt you so much. There's gonna be third parties. Third parties are also a thing. Oh boy. Like, okay, you left that person, and now you got to meet their family. And maybe, their mother or father or sister, or, like, let's say siblings, they hate you. They hate your guts. They, like, really try to mess you up and, like, tell things about you, or they try to control the guy. They're, like, controlling the guy with, like, hey, well, she's really bad for you. She doesn't give a damn about you. Or, you should dress like this. You should come to our house, and no, she's not invited. And, like, a lot of things that happens in, like, relationships, there's always the third party. There's always the third party that can really mess up all relationships. Let's say you literally just get an email, and you talk about an email, and it's gonna blow up in your face because there's some miscommunication, different intentions, and timing, and everything else. A lot of things can happen, but, like, yeah, these alien love bites, there's so many things that happen. Like, I literally, a lot of time just go on Reddit to read up on all that crap. Because you can go into, like, relationships and, like, read up on people and what they're experiencing, and it's, like, very visible. It's, like, very visible with what people go through, and, like, not all stories are that. It's not like everything in your life is like an entity, an alien abduction, alien love bite, and all this stuff. No, sometimes it's just us. Sometimes we just have triggers. Like, hey, hey, in my past lives, I really got fucked over. I've been left, I've been hurt, so, yeah, I'm gonna be totally more sensitive in relationships. I'm gonna be looking at, like, damn, I don't know how to talk to people. I lived for 18 years without really having my own opinion. I couldn't do that. Like, I wasn't allowed. So, I had to start working on, can I have my own opinion? And is it okay to have it? Is it even okay to share it? Like, for me, this YouTube thing, last few years, just appearing on Rich's channel and just talking to him and just answering questions, like, okay, well, I'm really glad that I can sort of, like, share some of my stuff and people can relate to it. Awesome. And there's people like, Aquila, you should get your own channel. I'm like, wow, someone cares. Someone really gives a damn about what I have to say. It's amazing. It's amazing. So, like, I really appreciate it. Like, I know that I don't know everything. I'm still learning. And it's like, there's a lot of labels in life, but every day I'm trying to get better. Recently, I've, like, it's all about me now, but it's my channel, so it's okay. I've been reading, like, Lewis Howes' book. I've been looking at internet stuff, and it's all about relationships. It's all about how do you deal with people. And I know, like, it's pretty much gonna be like, hey, I'm just learning to get better and understanding and be better for others. And, like, one thing is men. Men in my life really hurt me. like sexual abuse and emotional abuse, psychological abuse, a lot of things happen, bullying and all. So I have my own traumas, and I'm trying to deal with them. And I've been afraid of people. I've sort of like isolated myself from everyone else. I'm like, no, I don't want to talk to them. And to be able to open up, to be me, to be vulnerable and everything else, but at the same time, make it not about myself. Like, hey, I look at, there's a lot of programming that's goes on in lots of ways. Like just today, like just an example, on Reddit, I've read a thing where there's a woman that took her daughter, like an 11 years old daughter, to a restaurant, and some worker, like I don't know, construction worker comes into the restaurant, and he's just like shirtless, buffed up, and handsome, and the little girl, 11 years old, saying, "Well, if he's fixing something, I need fixing." It's like, so yeah, like we have that sexualization and everything else, and that's like fine. That's supposed to be fine enough. Like, wow, like the girl really admires him, and the guy gets compliments. But if it was the same thing of 11-year-old boy talking about men, or like women, or either way, to be politically correct, it's like whatever. But like it becomes a really hardcore thing. Like there's a lot of like, it's okay. Like I don't know, like what's the word? I forgot the word. Whatever. But you're trying to look at the world, and everyone's pushing. Well, men are supposed to be like this. Women are supposed to be like that. And I'm learning like, hey, like I know naturally I'm trying to do that, but what can I do for people? How can I be better? And I just look at like, well, hey, they need to open up. Like a lot of men don't really have anyone to talk to, and if they talk about others and open up and become vulnerable, they get judged like, oh, well, you're a pussy, man up, and all this stuff. Like yeah, like it's hardcore. It's hardcore. So all of a sudden, it's okay for a woman to be emotional, but if a man cries, he's a pussy. He needs to grow up. He needs to have some balls and all this stuff. Like no, like fuck that shit. Okay, well, man gets like really programmed into like hardcore, like be a man, so of course you have to endure pain, and if you hurt yourself and try to take care of yourself, like damn, it hurts, I don't want to do that thing anymore, I have to take care of myself, all of a sudden like, well, he's not a man, what a wuss. Like, oh, fuck that shit. So like a lot of these programmings, like Lewis Howes' book, like Mask of Masculinity, is like what I'm looking at right now, a lot of examples of programming in society of how men are being really hardcore programmed. And they can't be themselves. Like they have to wear a certain mask or have a certain personality to fit the standards of society. It's like that, go into kindergarten, then the school, then the college, university, take the loan, and then find a job and get married, have kids, and then boom, your life is over. Like no, what if I don't go? What if I don't want to go by the standards? What if I just want to explore? Maybe I don't want kids. Maybe I'm not like used to the whole thing, and I'm just gonna do my own thing. That's cool. So there, like for me, I'm just like exploring to be a better person and how to learn, how to grow, and how to give more to others. But anyway. Kelvin Morrison's like, explain then how to manifest to be left alone in simple steps. Well, first, okay, well, what do you mean by being left alone? Like, okay, well, are you targeted and are you being messed with? Then in what ways? How are you, Mr. Kelvin, being messed with? Do you get hurt? I'm sorry. Everybody does. And like, if I look at myself, okay, I think I'm being messed with. How does that happen? Well, I get out, I talk to people, they say stuff, and it hurts me. So I get hurt by what they say. So it's me being reactive and just expecting someone of people. Like I expect them to be this way, and then they don't fit my expectations, and I get hurt. Ooh, well, shit. Like I don't want them to change. How can I change? How can I be better? Like I can't change everyone here. So how can I be the best part of myself while not limiting others or myself? How can I like stop cutting myself off and everything else? If I'm triggered by my clients writing to me and we're gonna have a session and then we connect and then like interference on the internet and all of a sudden we can't connect and it's like, oh fuck, an hour wasted, I have to reschedule and everything else. It happens a lot. But it used to like really, let's say, piss me off. It would be a thing like, oh my god, rescheduling, getting to a client, and then a whole hour trying to connect back and forth and it's not working and I have to take on another. So an hour wasted, well, all the things I could have done that time and all the stuff. Like all these reactions, the more I would react on the things that trigger me. It's like, okay, well, how can I deal with that? Well, one, don't get pissed off. It's like, oh, okay, next time it happens, I'm trying to connect to client, we're gonna do the session, boom, interferences. And I'm like, okay, here it is, one of those things again. Now I'm expecting it. Now I know what's going on. It's not just something's wrong. No, like, I'm being targeted. I reacted this thing. If I stop reacting into like, yeah, we're just gonna reschedule itself, fine, no worries, an hour wasted, it's no longer wasted. I've been trying to connect and I've been like looking at all the ways they're trying to trigger me. Boom. And all of a sudden, there's no more reaction. No more interferences as well. Because I stopped reacting to a problem. So, it's like, okay, well, I'm just gonna move on, do a different thing. And all of the things that happen to you in life, you look at how are you triggered? How are you being messed with? Can you identify that? And if you can, then, okay, look at how can you deal with it. Okay, you just got like, okay, you love animals. You really care about them. And then you're driving your car and you run one over them. And damn it, like it really like fucks up your values. You just got to forgive yourself. Like, hey, like, was it really just a little incident, or did someone really like knew what can hurt you? Like all of these situations in life, you're like a rock. No one can get through you. But that little incident really messed you up. And like, okay, well, what if it wasn't just the incident? What if it was like trying to mess with you and see how would you react? And it starts like, if you react to it, it starts happening to you more. So if you're like a freaking victim that has, I don't know, like, yeah, that's not the right way to talk about it, but if you have no awareness of how you're being messed with, then there's a lot to do with getting better. You just have to be aware that you're being messed with. See how, and then look at all of these things to get better. Like all these steps and simple steps, then how to manifest to be left alone in simple steps. List out every single way you're being targeted. How do you react to it? How you get triggered? Every single thing. If you're not doing that, don't expect to get better. Don't expect all of these issues to stop. I know just like, hey, I have fucking NPC in my house. They really attack me and yell at me and all this stuff. I found what stops them. Hey, like, they target my dog. They don't like the dog being in the elevator. Cool, I found a law that allows the dog in the elevator. I'm good. No longer. I haven't seen the lady in months. Good for me. I win. And all of these little things, if I don't react, if I look at, that's how they trigger me. That little part. I need to work on that. I need to work on myself. And how am I going to react to things? All of these little things, it's like, it's always work. But I'm literally have months or weeks without being attacked. If it's any attack, like any attempt, it's so small I don't even notice it in my life. It's meaningless. It's me though. It's me. So I'm slowly scrolling down, looking through all the comments. I'm still like at the very top. So just like still getting to you guys. KS is saying, so basically one must be neutral to all of this and just observe all. That's the best way. Like, let's say, Eckhart Tolle, I doubt he gets triggered. Like, he literally dealt with his case. The emotional body, like the victim body, whatever, like he describes. That part of you that sort of craves for the problems and will try to cause it in your life. It's like, he dealt with it. A lot of people in their life, they get rid of that case that attracts problems. The reactive case. Or if there is a problem, they know how to deal with it. If we get totally emotional, like, okay, let's see what triggers you. If you were an ET, a super smart being, and one way you could extend your life and power up the technology would be to trigger someone, how would you do it? There's a game, I think, called Neighbors from Hell. I'm not sure. I think I used to play it when I was a kid. I'm just gonna look it up. Neighbors from Hell. Yeah. That's the one. Neighbors from Hell. And Neighbors from Hell is an interesting game, and it's like it's amazing that I remembered it right now. But in the game, you only beat the level when you trigger your neighbor to the top of the scale. And in order to do stuff, you need to mess with him. And I'm maybe, let's see if I can find a little part where I can show you. Let's see. I'm gonna keep this one. Hold up, lovely people. Where can I get this stuff? I'm like working on display capture. Easier. No. Window capture, there we go. There we go. Neighbors from Hell. There we go. Boom. Okay, finally got it. So, this thing, right? Neighbors from Hell. I'm not sure if you can see my cursor. But there's this meter, for example. Yeah, maybe we can get a video. I don't know. Let's see. Season 1, da-da-da-da. So, there's this meter over here that you need to hit in order to beat the level. And in order to have it all the way up, I assume that's how the game works, so you need to trigger him. So the way to trigger him would be to have him sit on this fart bag, and he's gonna react like, fuck, I farted, what's this little shit? And then you're gonna use glue. He's gonna get stuck. So all of a sudden, this guy goes and does things, and there's this fucking entity, like over here person, he's gonna try to fuck up your life. And you only beat the level when you get score. Like, boom, he got triggered with all of these things. We can notch a little thing like, okay, you're gonna prep the trap, so you mixed up like whatever with his food or things, and now you're gonna like take the egg, like do whatever, microwave it maybe, like I don't know, but the guy eventually does another thing and reacts, and he gets like really triggered. There you go, like you fucked up his cable, he's there in the toilet, so probably he has glue or whatever. Oh, I have toilet paper. Triggered! And you hit the bar, and you score. So, that's like a little game. But that's how life works. This is how ETs, like let's say, yeah, they're collecting Loosh to power up their technology, to power up like suns, or like to extend their lives and other things. It's a Loosh farm. This place sees all the beings here as people who are like, how can we produce fucking energy? Loosh is like, just gives them all of that. And if we keep reacting, like, yeah, shit happens. You just made an awesome sandwich and it fell on the floor on the side you had to eat, and like, fuck, like, I just really wanted that. And, you know, you, like, open a little candy and there's, like, a fucking ant in there or whatever. Tons of things can happen. And if you react, they get the Loosh out. So, the more you react, the more you yell at life, the more you get triggered, the more, like, you're a freaking amazing product. They love you. You produce so much energy. Like, yeah, this person is great. But instead of really killing you, instead of really messing you up, they're gonna push you to the limit of suicide, of like, fuck this life, really hate it, and you're gonna be depressed and everything else happens. And then they're gonna give you some free time. Relax. Give you something good, so that you would not really look at yourself, not really look at you're being targeted. It's more like, no, just life happens. Here, have a good few days, a few weeks. Be happy. And then they're gonna give you things you like or want to satisfy you, and boom, they're gonna really mess you up again. We're like, it's a fucking Loosh farm. We're the products. So the less you react, the worse of a product you are, and you become useless. So, it's a lot of work. It is. It's not easy, it's not fun, but if we are aware of what triggers us, and are able to start confronting it and deal with it one way or the other. Like for me, it used to be my dad. My dad used to be quite a big trigger in my life. Like being in the same house with him, in the same room. Like he didn't do any sexual abuse or anything, just his personality. It switched. It's like he became so distant to me, and then like just having to be in the same place with him. Like he's just in the next room, and like let's say my mom's gone. I hate it. I didn't want to leave my room. I would pretty much like just leave my room when mom would get back home. Like, oh, finally, I feel safe getting out. Like, I just really hate this energy. And, you know, how I dealt with it was, what can I do to not get triggered? How can I handle conversations with him? How can I handle myself? What can I do to get better? And my focus, like, like, get in your place. That was the best fucking escape. And like getting my own place was like freaking amazing. And every single thing in my life, every kind of trigger that happens, it's like, okay, look, what happened here? All these emotions and stuff. Like, I'm lucky, like, I'm finding these primitive ways. You know, like, I listen to Tony Robbins, maybe Gary Vaynerchuk, and all of these little things I learned. Like, for example, well, I didn't like how I used to look. Like, you know, like the whole COVID and me, like, fuck, like, I'm not gonna take care of myself as much as I used to. I'm gonna give priority to other things. And, like, really, like, I gained a lot of weight. Like, not too much, but for myself, it was, like, beyond, like, hey, I don't like that look. I don't like how I feel. So, it wasn't... It's really wrong way to go with, I feel inspired to work out. I feel like having this body would be great. So now I have motivation to work out, and only then I'm gonna take action to do it. If that's the way your life works, you're never gonna do it. Like, you're gonna be freaking lucky if something fucking inspires you. But you have to flip it with, I don't feel like it, but I'm just gonna take action. And I'm just gonna do it. Like, fuck it. And you do it, and all of a sudden you get inspiration because you just started doing it. Like, you just start working out. Like, okay, well, it's been a few minutes, you've stretched out, you did a few things, and it feels like you could do a bit more. And a bit more. Like, you don't have to overdo it, but it just feels kind of good moving around and doing little things. Like, my dog, like, taught me, like, hey, if not for him, I wouldn't be leaving my house as much. Like, fuck that. It's raining. It's snowing. I don't want to go out when it's muddy and it's all, like puddles and everything. Like, ugh, I don't want to walk in there. But we go out. The moment I leave the house, I'm like, it's not so bad. I walk around, like, it's been 30 minutes of walking. I'm like, I like it. We should go somewhere else. Let's go. And I'm all excited and stuff. So just fucking do it. And then you're gonna feel, like, better and stuff like that. But it's a lot of freaking work. And, like, I'm talking a lot. But thank you all for listening. It's like, you're my, like, freaking counselor or whatever. Speaking of which, speaking of myself again, I'm really happy. Like, it's been a few weeks now. Like, this physical therapy, Yumeho thing I'm doing, it's really helping me out. Like, I became very aware of my physical body, because it used to be like, it's either good or it's something's bad. I don't like it. But I wasn't really caring about it. And now it's more like, hey, I got, like, my bones cracked and everything else. I got folded like an origami. But now I feel my body in lots of ways. I feel when I'm not sitting right, I feel my body saying, hey, I don't like this food anymore. I don't like eating that much. Like, it was amazing because, like, after a few times, like, he was working on my stomach and everything else, and my whole appetite changed. If I used to be like, I want this and that, like I love Asian food, for example. So let's have a plate of sushi and also, like, a bowl of ramen and maybe rice. And I was freaking overeating, and I'm like, oh, that was amazing, woo! And my stomach just grows bigger. So now it's more like, I'm just gonna have one little bit of it, and I barely eat half. Or, like, I have to work at it, and I'm already, like, filled up, so, like, I really, like, my portions, like really shrinked. And now it's more like just eat once a day. It's like intermittent fasting, I think. Between, like, 16 hours or 18 hours of difference for me. So, like, I eat, like, once a day, and, like, I'm fine. I'm totally fine. Like, it's like, I want to eat, grab a fucking water. Like, boom, that's what kind of water I have now, like, just drink that. So, I don't know, like, I'm getting much better with, like, diet and, like, what I consume, and at the same time just taking actions. Like, man, I'm just gonna work out, just start doing it. Like, my dog's helping me. Every time I start lifting weights, he's there, like, trying to get the weights or whatever, but at least it's much better. Kelvin's saying, New Age nonsense, the galaxy isn't even real, it's just soul trap, fake reality. Kelvin, did you read and watch stuff, or have you ever gotten out of body and seen it for yourself? Have you ever been out there, explore it? Because, for me it's easy to talk because I've experienced it, and all I'm sharing is my point of view. It's subjective. To you I can be completely wrong, and that is fine. It is okay to have a different opinion. But if you haven't had the first-hand experience and you've just read and heard about stuff, well, you know, it's like something to work on. start saying, Aquila, why do you mainly work alone or just with Fridge? Um, I don't know, like, there's not really that many people contacting me to like, hey, let's work together, let's do something. I've had Kimberly McGeorge. We did some stuff together, and like it's just amazing. But she's a freaking busy person. She has her own life, and I'm like, yep, go do your stuff. I'm so glad like you're winning in life. Like just like, hey, she has her own things to do. I'm working with Patricia. Like we connect once a week to work on our stuff. Sort of like a little bit guiding her here and there, like, hey, let's explore your abilities, let's see what you can do. And she's just gonna go explore, see, and I'm just there asking questions so that she could focus on something. For me, that's like why in my sessions I use some of the mirrors. Like, for example, I go all over the place, so I need something to focus on. I need a target, like, which is why in sessions I try to ask people to be specific. But yeah, like, there's a lot of stuff. On the other hand, a lot of people will have their own plans of what they want to do, and they want to get me involved in their projects. I'm either not interested in, but it didn't really had any suggestions that would really make me join. But let's say, hey, let's have a group of people come together, do this. I'm like, okay, let's try it out. But it doesn't really happen. Like, there's a lot of planning, and then an email or two, and then they're gone. Like, it's been a few years since that. Like, okay, like, so a lot of miscommunications, a lot of, like, let's try to do it, and things never happen. Reg is just, like, freaking close by. He's been my freaking guide and teacher my whole life. Like for last 10 years. So it's easy for us because, like, we finally, like, clicked off, got together, like, hey, I have an ability, you have a knowledge. Let's see what we can do. And he would just guide me, and I would explore, and it's amazing because, again, with all the explorations, with what I'm seeing, I get just, like one piece of puzzle at a time. And I don't see the full picture. I don't know the whole thing. But, what he's studying right now, what he knows, all the books he have read, he's like, yep, I read about that, and he explains more about it. Like finally, like, someone, like, really connects the dots. And, he's studying a lot of hardcore stuff right now, and a lot of what we looked at and did in sessions, it just matches up. So it amazes me that, like, hey, we pick up on that stuff in our own ways. We don't see the full picture, maybe, but we get a lot of those parts, like, yep, done that, seen that, and all the stuff. But yeah, other than that, like, I don't know, like, it would be great to work with more people. I would be up for it. It's just like, let's sit down, let's talk, and, like, maybe I'm waiting for invitations. I'm not the person who's like, let's do this together. I am busy with my life because, like, let's say spiritual side and what you see here of me on YouTube, the sessions I do, is just 20% of my life max. I have tons of other things I'm doing here that is not connected to spirituality, and it's more of my priorities that I do more of that. So, like, if I would put more effort into this, like, let's talk about these subjects and all, then yeah. Hey, Rich! Good to see you here. Rich, you want to tell them what you're studying about? So I'm slowly scrolling down, reading the questions and comments. Just in saying, there's some delicious pleasure of to offer here on Earth. Maybe our realities or the free reality are all boring and as shit. That this is just the best place to be. Talking about Earth. Yeah, about that. In universe, when we leave the whole, let's say, duality, and you have billions of years to live, let's say, yeah, over here you're really messed up, you're a victim, it hurts, and like hell, you don't want to be here anymore. You get out, and then finally, somewhere peaceful. And that peaceful lasts for years or lifetimes. Like you've had like, okay, finally just gonna sort of rejuvenate, like work on myself and sort of forget everything about Earth, or not really. And then you live like that for, let's say, 10 million years. Just relaxing, being in love and having the nice time and just chilling. Eventually it gets boring. Eventually you're like, okay, kind of want to do something new now. Like, how long can you just look at your wall without thinking? If you last a minute, that's great. But if you have a thought, that's how bored you got. Over there, we're more used to that. We explore, we have different options of like, let's say just enjoying life itself, peaceful and great. But eventually, if you would do the same thing over and over again for millions and millions of years, eventually it gets boring. Eventually, you want something new. Consciousness constantly have to expand and have some new triggers or experiences, because not evolving is just not in our nature. We have to get better. We have to try out new things. We have to experience. We have to expand. We have to do stuff. And with all that, you just like focus on the new thing. And maybe the new thing is just like, hey, well, I'm just gonna, go play basketball. But all of a sudden it's a competition. Are you playing basketball just to throw the hoops? You're like, hey, I hit it 2 points, yay, that was fun. Or are you trying to win? If you're just shooting and you're practicing, awesome. But maybe there's gonna be a being that will want to join you in basketball. And all of a sudden you're playing and you're having fun. But they're like, let's see, like, we're gonna win if we score that many points. And you're like, okay, that's gonna be fun. And you score and you win and you feel great and that's amazing. And all of a sudden you're into competition. You realize you really love to win. You feel awesome when that happens. And as we explore, we eventually end up coming here. With all the explorations of like, hey, you don't feel pain there. And you do same old stuff and it's like wars and everything else. All the shit we have here on Earth, or in this physical universe, the whole war and everything else, it's all the same over there. In duality. So if you go in the fourth dimension or the fifth dimension, same shit. Just different sensations. But pretty much like same scenarios with war in heaven and all these galactic war and everything else. So you're like eventually like, hey, well, this is kind of like, there's more competition. There's a better challenge. Someone's saying, well, on Earth, let's just have this game, let's say not necessarily Earth, but like you will not have this power. Let's see if you can beat this game and, do this thing. Like right now, there's a lot of speedrunners or people playing Elden Ring. And everyone's just trying to see, okay, they get to a certain time, like certain level, they have all the gear, they get great, and let's do a new game plus, but now beat the game without certain weapons, only shields, or only that stuff, or maybe without ever taking damage, maybe without any guns and just being a freaking pacifist and never trying to really kill or like anyone. And a lot of people are doing those challenges because they want that challenge, they want to win, and they feel great and they prove something. It's in our nature. Constantly doing something, getting better, exploring, and challenging ourselves. Because it's boring. Not everyone does it, but if you ended up here, if you were wanting to explore and see how far can you go, and that might have been how far can you go and you got involved in the fifth dimensional war, and all of a sudden, well, from here someone told you a lie and you end up here. From fifth dimension, you got caught in this like soul trap and you got here. Like whatever got you here on Earth, there was a reason what got you here. Not necessarily an agreement or whatever on Earth, but in the physical reality, in the duality of this big game, totally. So this whole, being boring in Earth seems like a nice juicy thing. Yeah, eventually something got us here. We got to explore and realize what, but there's a lot of things. Next Level Evolution saying that they wrote me an email, but I never received it. Under my video description, I think here should be as well, you should look like I don't know, Facebook, Reddit, Discord, all of these things. You can try one of these. If not, send me an email again and maybe try to send two or three, or somehow leave an email to me like in one of those social like media platforms so that I could contact you instead. We'll see if that works. Calvin saying, nobody has changed anything for better here on Earth. Let's have some fucking examples of things improving. It doesn't happen, ever. Just degenerates. Okay, well, I started working out. That's an improvement. I've had sessions with people and their lives changed for the better. They got rid of their cases. They learned to confront entities and things in their life. They're taking more control. People are waking up. They're actually more aware of what's going on in the world. People are not taking the magic juice that is given by the government and they're giving money for that and constantly reminding you that you're gonna get healthier even if shit catches you up like after free magic juices. But yeah, people are taking up the government for like fucking court and stuff like that. There's a lot of people protesting and like tons of things are happening, but if you're never looking for anything positive in your life, you're never gonna find it. If you're always looking for something to fuck about, like, oh, that's bad and that's bad and that's negative and whatever, you're always gonna find that. You're always gonna find negatives. If you're looking for all the shit of things not improving, of things that don't happen, of things like you're being fucked with and there's no way out, you're always gonna find it. But the moment you choose to look for the good stuff, you will find it. It's like, yeah, well, doesn't look like there's any chance on fucking Earth. Everyone's fucking asleep, no one's waking up. Because I'm watching the news and I've seen a post on Facebook and bleh. Good for you, dude. If that's all you want to look at of what's given to you without doing your own fucking research, you're just gonna see whatever's given to you. You're gonna like look at that scenario and buy it. But if you're like, I'm gonna look at alternative sources of news, I'm gonna look at what's really going on in the world, I'm gonna do my own research, you will find a lot of shit. A whole lot of stuff. But do you want to focus on it? It doesn't look like it. Like, if you're like really into the negative stuff, go for it. If that's what you buy, but if you want to change, you have to change. If you want anything else around you to change, start from your fucking self. That's so simple. Sigurd asking about my opinion on LGBTQ. Don't have it. I'm really so into my fucking self, being egoistic about everything that I know. Not really. And whatever my interests are, like, it's just not my interest. I haven't looked at it. I am not connected to that stuff. Like, whatever. Just not my thing. Thanks, Eddie. Calvin saying the soul shard has been around for decades. New age mumbo jumbo to keep you distracted and docile. Really? And how does self betterment distract you? And what is it distracting you from, Calvin? Are you so busy looking at the negative stuff, something you can complain about and feel like a victim and feel right about feeling bad and being depressed like as fuck, instead of, doing something better for your own life? Damn, sorry, mate. Like, I'm not saying everything in New Age is great and, like, it's amazing. But if you just start working on yourself, you're gonna see a lot of good things happening. If you don't do that, then you're like, I'm gonna blame everyone else for my condition on Earth. You're never gonna get better. Ever. There's a lot of stuff, like, you have to cherry pick. Whatever I'm talking about, it's my opinion, it's how I feel about it. It's my experience. You don't like it? Well, just cherry pick whatever you like from my topics. If you don't agree with my opinion, that is totally fine. Because you have your own opinion. And I'm okay with that. I will not judge you for thinking differently. Unlike someone here, Mr. Kelvin. But whatever works for you, man. Andromeda is asking, hi Aquila, how can someone uncreate a universe? It is same way you would create something. Like you think of it, you have an intention of like fantasy, like fantasy realm, or let's say creating your own pocket realm. You're gonna focus on that picture, and that's what you create. You don't like it anymore. You're like, okay, I'm sort of done. And think of an eraser. You can move it and just sort of have an intention to just destroy it or whatever. That's same thing. Let's look up one little thing. Okay. Let's do this. Kelvin's saying she's just one a script, like a bot repeating the same new age stuff from decades ago. Peace out, all. Hope you all eventually get out of the soul trap. And Loosh is powerful. Loosh is powerful. This soul trap, lol. Loosh is what is extracted from our immortal spirits and is used to power and keep you in the soul trap. It was coined by Robert Monroe. She is dead wrong on this. And why is she twisting Loosh and making is the opposite of what the inventor was coined in terms about? Asumsky, I am so glad you really don't like what I say. Let's go. Let's go see this. Sentient glossary, right? Etymology. Robert Monroe, in his book Far Journeys, writes of contact he had with a light being in an out-of-body experience. Monroe is arguably the world's foremost researcher in out-of-body experiences. He started an institute with trainee researchers to scientifically investigate the phenomenon. Reportedly, the light being told Monroe that when humans die, their energy is released and harvested by transdimensional beings, who use it to extend their own lifespans. The claim is that the universe is a garden created by these beings at their food source. Alright. According to Monroe's story, animals are intentionally positioned on this planet to feed on plants and on each other, thereby releasing the life force of the victims so it can be harvested. In a predatory-prey struggle, exceptional energy is produced in the combatants. The spilling of blood in fight to the death conflict releases this intense energy, which the light beings call Loosh. Loosh is also harvested from the loneliness of animals and humans, as well as from the emotions engendered when a parent is forced to defend the life of its young. Another source of Loosh is humans' worship. According to Monroe's informant, our creators, the cosmic energy farmers, intentionally equipped animals with the devices like fangs, claws, and super speed in order to prolong the predator-prey combat and thereby produce more Loosh. In other words, the greater the suffering, the more life force is spewed from our bodies and the tastier the energy meal for our creators. This story told to Monroe, which threw him into a 2-week depression, corresponds to reports in some of the world's oldest scriptures. The Vedas, whatever that is, and Upanishads, the Purans of India. We read that the universe is upheld by sacrifice, and that all who are living in this world are the sacrificers. There is none living who does not perform the sacrifice. This body is created for sacrifice and arises out of sacrifice and changes according to sacrifice. The part I really like is that, in other words, the greater the suffering, the more life is spewed from our bodies. But a thing to remember is that we don't have to die to give off this energy. Every single thing that triggers us, every single thing that you react on with that negative energy that is a bit more, like, it's fine if you can get angry and like direct it somewhere. But if you're really being messed with and you go nuts with like, damn it, I can't go, you're like out of control. If you're like really sad and depressed and like feeling like shit and you have all those things happening, your energy is being taken. So when you're saying I'm twisting the words of Monroe and the creator and everything else and I'm just making shit up and I'm a bot and everything else, great. But I look at, the definitions, like Carlos Castaneda as well, like Loosh. If you would have the visuals, if you could see not only the physical, my body, my stream, or anything around you, but if you would have the spiritual side, if you could see the energy, if you could see the entities like some people, besides me, if you could see that stuff, every day of our lives, every single trigger is like our energy is being harvested. It is being taken. It is visible. You can look at the aura readers and everything else and like ask for a reading when you're like, okay, well, this is like what your aura looks like. Let's look at how you are when you are fucking triggered and what changes in your body. How you fucking change. And with all that to say that like, oh yeah, it's just like the new age shit and, like, it's just the soul trap or whatever, like, fuck you, man. Like, I'm doing the research and I'm seeing the stuff every day. But it's really good to have someone argue with you and have a different opinion. Oh yeah, I'm a fucking lizard, because I have a filter in my background. Yeah. A fucking NPC, too. Layer asking, have you ever noticed the energies that have been really tough recently? Is it the collective thing or maybe the astrological? Well, here's what's going on. A lot of people here are waking up. There's a lot of good thing happening on the planet. A lot of people are getting together, working on themselves. And with all the positive changes, when the prisoners start to break free and realize they're fucking prisoners and start doing something about it, a lot of people really out there look at you like, damn, prisoners are going wild. And they might soon realize they're actually trapped here. And, like, they're gonna fuck with you. Like, so this whole collective thing, yeah, they're pushing it a lot these days. A lot with even this whole thing with Ukraine, having everyone's attention, or like used to be COVID back then. But let's have you look at constant like negative stuff. Let's trigger you 24/7. Let's throw that shit at you. And more recently, the more action people take to get better, to find out what's going on, to break free of the system and everything else, the more they're gonna try to push you back. The more they're gonna try to like work on imprisoning you and like, hey, you shouldn't like be fucking aware and all this stuff. You should be in prison, you should be feeling like shit. And when you're starting to work on yourself, you don't feed them. They don't get your energy. They can't trade anymore. The whole Loosh thing, like, people are fighting back, so you don't feed the, like, someone who's starving and, like, fuck, they're gonna die, and they don't have enough juice for their fucking technologies. And when they need that harshly, like, hey, if you had gasoline, or, like, instead of gasoline, like, right now it's, like, the human fucking energy, the Loosh, well, you're gonna beat them to a pulp and fuck with them so that, like, you could juice up your technology and just, like, whatever, like, spaceships and stuff, you're gonna have to use it. And here's your only fucking harvesting stuff. Humans. Let's go. So, yeah, totally. A lot of people are fighting back and that's not good for them. So I'm slowly scrolling down with the chat, reading the comments and what people are saying. Amashtu is asking, why do ETs engage in the satanic rituals? Because I've never met a being called Satan in any realm close to Earth. So who are they calling upon, and why would ETs engage in Satan's nonsense? Well, one thing is like, hey, here on Earth, some people worship Jesus, or some religious figure. And that's their thing. That's like, it makes them feel better. It's like they're praying and they like feel like they're getting something out of it. For them, it's a thing. Those who are engaging in more like satanic rituals, they get a whole lot of energy from it. And at the same time, it's like all those deals with the devil where you give control of your physical body here, of your free will and everything else, and all of a sudden you get what you want. Like, for them it's worshipping, or actually more like you have a parent. You have someone above you in the system. You have someone like as a controller. Like in the government structure, you look at the whole pyramid of how it goes and you're like, well, eventually you have to sort of obey them and do what they want. And, you're just gonna have to follow that. So a lot of these satanic rituals are being like, hey, it's just their programming, it's just their thing. And at the same time, boy, the energy it harvests, the energy they get from it. It's, we, let's say, eat and drink to survive. They do their rituals to feed off as well. Sita asking, how do you suggest to get rid of targeting? Like, as I've been targeting since birth. It's always about identify how are you being targeted. How? What's going on? And once you can see like, okay, well, my parents are doing this. It makes me feel like shit. Or someone doesn't do things. Or like I'm being bullied in school. Or like at work, the coworkers are doing this and PC stops working and all of these things happening. You have to identify what is going on. And once you can see, okay, well, here it is. Here's the thing. Once you are aware of what is going on, then you need to take actions on looking at how can you be triggered less? What do you need to do to sort of, okay, I know, it's a programming. If I react, they're gonna get me. So I'm gonna work on not reacting. And of course, when it happens, sometimes it's like really hard and like you're into it in the situation and it's like, fuck, like you can't have full control. But the more aware you become of that, the more attention you can pay to what you're gonna do when that happens next. Someone's saying something that should piss you off, and you're like, no, it's supposed to piss me off, and I'm just gonna not react. I'm just not gonna say anything. I'm just gonna ignore that. Fuck it. And you work on it. You literally like it's a lot of work. It's a muscle, but every single thing you can do to not be triggered, to not react to the problem the way you used to, or work on what triggers you, what hurts you the most. Like maybe you're misunderstood. Maybe your actions are not being acknowledged and you're not being seen. Like you might have your own inner issues and traumas that you need to work on. So like acknowledging those, let's say for me it's communication. Like I had to work through a whole lot of communication because for me, I wouldn't share my thoughts. Like I would put so much effort into doing stuff for people and helping and like just giving and all the stuff. And when they wouldn't understand that, when they would just, instead of, oh wow, thank you for helping, it's like, it's all your fault because you did that and that's happened to me. It's like, man, I did so much stuff to help and it just backfired. Or from their perspective, it really hurts. And that hurts. Like, so like having the communication of, okay, what was it that I did that hurt you? And they will talk and talk and talk and talk and talk. And eventually you will hear like, oh, well, this thing. Oh, well, okay, now I know. Now I don't have to make shit up or think of all the possibilities and blame myself for all of it, not knowing what happened. Instead, I know what happened specifically, what I did or what I didn't do, and all of these things. And like for me, like I'm just like most of my issues come from communication. And if I can work on being able to communicate and tell people how I feel and my intentions, and then being able to ask from their perspective instead of, okay, well, shit happened and now I'm gonna make shit up or think of possibilities that whatever caused the issue. Well, I'm just thinking of stuff, but I don't know. And all of these thoughts will lead me to blame myself more or not knowing the answer, and I'm still gonna feel like shit. So whenever I know what the fuck has happened for real, I can work for it. So there's that. Anyway, people, it's midnight here. I'm supposed to take my dog out and everything. So I guess it's time to wrap up the stream. And hey, everyone, thank you for joining and tuning in and being here and asking all of these amazing questions and keeping me company, letting me yap it up and all support I get. And I'll see you all next time. So, you take care of yourself. Come up with more questions or whatever for the next time. Feel free to watch more of my videos. And